The wedding hall glowed with thousands of warm lights, crystal chandeliers, and a floral archway dripping with jasmine and roses. Guests whispered behind their jeweled hands, casting curious, nervous glances toward the groom, the man no one dared cross. Ahil Zaveri, the ruthless, unshakable millionaire whose presence turned the loudest rooms silent. And beside him stood his new bride, Alina, her face half hidden under her embroidered red dupatta. Her henna-stained hands trembled. Not from shyness, from fear. This wasn't a love marriage. This wasn't destiny. This wasn't fate-weaving romance. This marriage was a trap. And she had walked into it willingly, for her family. She kept her eyes lowered as she recalled what had happened just 3 weeks ago. Her father's company was drowning. Debts piling up, projects failing, employees unpaid. For the first time, she saw her strong father cry. Then came the man rumored to be made of steel and fire, Ahil. He walked into their small home like he owned the ground beneath his feet. Even his shadow felt heavy. He placed a file on the table. Her father's debt papers. Bought, signed, owned, by him. With a voice devoid of mercy, he had looked at her father and said, "There are 2 ways this ends, destruction, or marriage." Alina's breath had stopped. Her father had begged, pleaded, but Ahil's eyes never softened. Alina stepped forward then and asked the only question that mattered. "If I marry you, will you save my father?" He met her gaze. "Marry me," he said quietly, "and I will save everything. Refuse, and I will burn everything you love to ash." She didn't cry. She didn't faint. She didn't scream. She simply nodded, because she loved her father more than her freedom. Now, here she was, standing beside a man whose touch she feared, whose intentions she didn't understand, whose name alone made businessmen tremble. The guests cheered as the couple walked out, showered in rose petals, but Alina felt like she was walking toward a sentence, not a future. The mansion. Ahil's mansion was enormous, far too quiet, far too polished, far too cold. High ceilings swallowed her small footsteps. Marble floors reflected their silhouettes like ghosts. He escorted her to the master suite, opened the door, and stepped inside. The room was breathtaking, velvet curtains, a 4-poster bed, a balcony overlooking the city. But none of it comforted her. She stayed near the door, clutching her dupatta as if it could shield her. Ahil removed his cufflinks slowly, almost thoughtfully. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Then he spoke, low, deep, dangerous. "I will break you in bed." Her breath stopped. Her fingers dug into her palms. She hadn't expected this. Not so soon. Not like this. Her heart thudded against her ribs, wild, panicked. She pressed herself back against the wooden door, gripping the handle as if she might run. He took 1 step toward her. And then another. The room felt smaller with every inch he closed. She squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the moment he would touch her, claim her, crush her. But he didn't. Instead, he stopped in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat of his presence, but not close enough to touch. When he finally spoke again, the tone of his voice changed, barely, but she felt it. "Unless," he whispered, his breath brushing her cheek, "you tell me not to." Her eyes flew open. What? She stared at him. This man, the city's monster, the millionaire with no heart, was giving her a choice. He stepped back, jaw clenched tight, as if fighting something inside himself. The tension shifted. She wasn't just afraid of him. She was confused by him. "Why would you say something like that?" she asked, breath shaky. Ahil turned to the window, hands clasped behind his back. "I don't expect you to understand," he said coldly. "Then make me understand," she whispered. He didn't answer. His silence roared louder than any words. Alina took a step toward him. "Just one. You married me because you need something from me, didn't you?" She whispered. "Power, control, revenge. What is it?" His shoulders tensed. Then he turned, and for the first time that night, his face wasn't a mask of power. It held something else, something raw. "Do you really think I would force myself on you?" he asked quietly. She blinked. That wasn't the answer she expected. "You threatened me," she said softly. "I scare people," he said. "I don't touch those who don't want me." His voice shook, just a little, but enough for her to notice. She stared. The man who threatened to break her was trembling at the thought of hurting her. "Then why the threat?" she asked. He looked away, jaw tight. "Because kindness makes me weak," he said. "And weakness gets exploited." Her heart softened, just a fraction. Before she could speak, he stepped away from her completely and walked to the sofa. You take the bed, he said. I'll sleep here. Her breath caught. What? He removed his coat, folded it neatly, and set it aside. You're safe, he said. From me. From everything. She watched him lie down on the sofa fully dressed, closed off, stiff, as if sleep was unfamiliar to him. The room dimmed. The city lights glittered outside. The air grew quiet. Alina didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching the man who had just turned her world upside down in more ways than she understood. And in that silence, she noticed something she hadn't before. Ahil slept like a man who fought wars in his dreams. His fists stayed clenched, his breathing uneven, his jaw tight, as if bracing for pain. He wasn't a monster. He was broken, deeply, silently broken. Her fear didn't vanish, but something new filled its place, something warm and uninvited. Curiosity, compassion, a dangerous spark of tenderness. The night he threatened her was the same night she saw the truth beneath the threat. The night she unknowingly began to fall for a man she was supposed to fear. Morning sunlight slipped through the sheer curtains, pouring warm gold into the master bedroom. But Alina had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ahil, curled tightly on the sofa, fists clenched, jaw locked, like a man fighting invisible demons. She sat quietly at the edge of the bed, her wedding jewelry still on, the weight of everything pressing into her chest. Ahil Zaveri, her husband, her stranger, her mystery, his threat from the previous night echoed in her mind. I will break you in bed. But then he stepped away. Slept away from her. Protected her. That contradiction alone kept her awake all night. The man the world feared hurting her. And that changed everything. Ahil in morning light. Hours later, just as dawn painted the sky pale blue, she heard movement. Ahil sat up on the sofa, stretching slightly, wincing as if his body were full of old wounds. He was already fully awake, shoulders squared, expression guarded. He ran a hand through his hair, picked up his wristwatch, and fixed it with practiced precision. Everything about him was controlled, silent, contained. Alina didn't move, but he sensed her gaze. His eyes flicked to her for the briefest moment, then away, as if looking at her too long might shatter him. You don't have to pretend you're comfortable, she said quietly. He froze mid-buttoning his shirt. And you don't have to pretend you're not afraid, he replied without turning. She stood, gathering her courage in a breath. I'm not afraid of you. That made him turn sharply, searching her face for truth. You should be, he said softly, too softly. But I'm not, she whispered. Something flickered in his eyes, relief, hope, pain, she couldn't tell. He turned away, reaching for his cufflinks again. His fingers trembled, barely noticeable unless someone looked closely. She did. Why did you say those words to me last night? She asked. He stiffened. He didn't answer. Ahil, she tried again, stepping closer. If you never intended to touch me, why threaten me? He exhaled sharply, the sound almost frustrated, almost helpless. Because, he began, voice rough, I needed you to believe I was dangerous. You are dangerous, she said honestly. He closed his eyes, jaw tightening. Exactly, but not to me, she added. The words hit him harder than she expected. He turned slowly, his expression unsteady. Don't try to understand me, Alina, he said. I don't know how to be gentle. I think you do, she whispered. No, he shook his head. I only destroy things. Her heart twisted. Then tell me, she said softly, why did you marry me? For a moment, she thought he wouldn't speak. That he would retreat into silence again. But something broke loose inside him. He walked to the window, placing his palm flat against the glass, staring down at the city as if it were a battlefield. When I met you 6 months ago, he said quietly, I was at the lowest point of my life. My father humiliated me in front of hundreds of people. Everyone laughed. Everyone enjoyed it. She remembered. She had been there. And you, he continued, walked toward me. Not away. You didn't laugh. You didn't pity me. You simply, he swallowed hard, handed me a glass of water. Her throat tightened. That moment had been nothing to her, just a human gesture. But to him, I didn't forget, he whispered. I couldn't forget. He turned then, eyes finally meeting hers, raw, unmasked, vulnerable. You were the only person who looked at me as if I was human, he said. Not a monster. Her heart squeezed painfully. Ahil, but I knew, he said bitterly, that if I asked you to marry me, you would refuse. So you trapped me, she whispered. Yes, he admitted, because I wanted something good in my life. Something pure, something untouched by greed. He took a slow breath. I wanted you. The confession stole the air from the room. She stepped closer. You could have just told me, she said softly. I don't know how, he whispered. I only know how to take, not ask. He looked away sharply, as if ashamed of his own truth. A shift in the air. He turned to leave the room, but she reached out and gently touched his wrist. He froze instantly, as if her touch burned, yet anchored him. Ahil, she said softly, you didn't hurt me last night. You don't know what I'm capable of, he whispered. Then show me, she challenged, not with fear, but with trust. He stared at her, stunned. You aren't afraid, she shook her head. I was afraid of being trapped in a loveless marriage, she said, but not afraid of you. His breath hitched. Her voice trembled as she continued. When you slept on the sofa, when you gave me space, when you protected me, that's when something changed. She stepped even closer until their breaths mingled. That's when I started falling. He swallowed hard. You fell in love with that, he whispered, as if he couldn't believe it. Yes. The word shattered something inside him. He exhaled shakily, almost in disbelief. I don't deserve your love, he murmured. Maybe not, she said softly. But you have it anyway. He closed his eyes, as if absorbing the words into wounds he'd hidden for years. Say it again, he whispered. She touched his cheek gently. I love you. His breath trembled. He opened his eyes and looked at her as if she was the first light he'd seen after years of darkness. Slowly, so slowly she felt her heartbeat climb. He touched her face, tracing the line of her jaw with soft, shaking fingers. No threats, she whispered. No threats, he promised. No fear, no breaking. He cupped her face fully, his forehead resting against hers. I will only break your loneliness, he whispered. Never you. Her knees weakened, her breath caught, her heart cracked open completely. And then, gently, carefully, reverently, he kissed her. Not like a man claiming his right, not like a husband demanding his bride, but like a man kissing the only softness he had ever been given. The kiss was slow at first, almost hesitant, until something warm and fierce bloomed between them. His hands moved to her waist, pulling her closer, but still afraid to grip too tightly. She touched his chest, feeling his heartbeat race wildly beneath her palm. He broke the kiss first, gasping softly. You are the first good thing in my life, he whispered. And I swear I will learn how to deserve you. She smiled through tears. You already do. He resting his forehead against hers again, breathing her in like she was air after years underwater. The beginning of love. That night, their room didn't feel cold or haunted. It felt warm, filled with possibility, new trust, fragile tenderness. Ahil didn't claim her. He didn't rush. He talked. He listened. He held her hand. He let her rest her head on his chest, his fingers stroking her hair gently, carefully, as if he feared she might break. And for the first time, Alina realized. This man wasn't heartless. He was hurt, lonely, starved for affection, starved for love, and she was falling for him deeply. When she finally whispered, "Good night, Ahil," he kissed her forehead. A soft kiss, a promise, a beginning, and in the quiet darkness of their room, two broken pieces finally began to fit together, slowly, beautifully, imperfectly, but perfectly enough for love to grow.